Hey, I work hard every mother day, I work hard.
TCF family, join me in congratulating Paul for being November's Member of the Month. Paul, congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, long time coming, right?
You know, sort of.
Sort of, kind of. So, tell us about yourself. What's your age? Where you from? Occupation? All those random things.
I'm originally from Unionville, New York, which is in the Mid-Hudson Valley between New York City and Albany.
Okay.
I work as an acoustic consultant, working with architects and building owners on sound and vibration in the built environment.
Okay, cool. So what was it? Work that brought you down from New York, or were you just like already down here?
It was work that brought me down right out of college. I had a good opportunity here, and when I changed firms, I decided to stay in the area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you like it so much, right?
Yeah.
Can't ever go back. It's not cold and dreary for
I miss
majority
the
of the time.
cold. I miss the cold. I think the winters here are more dreary than they are in New York.
Why?
It's just rain. It's just rain for 4 months.
Yeah, I guess we don't get. That would be one thing. Would be nice to get maybe a little bit more like snow, just so it feels like winter time.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
hey, I'm perfectly fine that we don't get as cold as New York does. It's freezing up there. And so what got you into acoustic consulting? Like, I didn't even know that was a job.
Yeah, I didn't either until a friend of mine from my high school's music program told me he was going into it, and it was a good opportunity to continue doing music and studying music formally, as well as studying engineering. So the program I went to was a joint program between the College of Engineering and the Hart School of Music. So I was able to continue studying saxophone as well as doing a lot of mechanical engineering. So it was really, I say it's like half of a mechanical engineering degree, half of a music performance degree, and another half a degree worth of acoustics and vibration focus. And I went into that not entirely sure where that was going to go career-wise. I was always interested in musical instrument design, but it turns out that I'm pretty good at consulting for the built environment, and some of my classmates went to work at NASA or at Apple, but a lot of us go into the consulting world working on, I work on everything from apartment buildings to theme parks and college buildings and everything in between.
So what would they do with like NASA and Apple? Like, just their building stuff?
One of my classmates that went to Apple was on the AirPods team, and the one that went to NASA was, I don't recall exactly, but there's a lot of funding there for sound and supersonic flight, as well as vibration in flight, and how that impacts airflow and efficiency.
Wow. I didn't think like sound would be part of that, but hey, I guess it is, right?
Well, and there's that example of there's a new aerospace company out in Greenville, Boom Supersonic, in the Winston-Salem area, and a lot of the research in that area right now is around how we can get to supersonic flight with less sonic boom impact on the ground, so that you might be able to do supersonic commercial flights over land.
So you're not like going over a house and then completely like shattering the windows.
It's why the Concorde only flew New York to London or New York to Paris, was because you don't worry about the sonic boom over the ocean. But there's restrictions on supersonic flight over land because of the sonic boom impact. So that's where there's a lot of advanced research that's honestly way above my head.
Wow.
On how you can minimize the shockwave.
So then what's the coolest thing that you've worked on so far? I know we've talked about like hotels and then like I think you said concert venue or something like that one time.
Yeah, I've worked on a real good variety of projects. The most exciting ones I usually can't talk about.
Oh, top secret. They'll have to kill you if you say anything.
Well, no, it's less top secret. It's more that large entertainment companies with large theme parks have lots of lawyers.
Okay.
But the one of those that I can talk about is actually somewhat related to spaceflight. I worked on an expansion to the Kennedy Space Center Visitor Center, and that's a large building that had a display area that was big enough to hang a Falcon 9 rocket in, and then 5 show theaters with motion bases. So they were kind of a half dome that you sat on a base that then slid out into the dome and had vibrations and slight movement to give sort of a 4D theater
okay.
type space.
Cool. So okay, yeah, I like the one that always comes to mind when people talk about 4D is like the Bugs Life in Disney World or whatever. Where it's
Yeah,
kind of like
it
it
didn't have the
vibrates.
spraying stuff of Bugs Life, but it was more close to Soarin', which is
Okay.
another one at Disney. It was kind of that, but you weren't hanging. You were supposed to be in a spaceship kind of thing. So you're
Yeah,
in
like
a seat.
lean back
Yeah.
and or I guess that would be more like the what's the one at Epcot or whatever where it's like you're like act like that you're taking off or whatever. You know what I'm talking about? I forget what it was called, but it was basically like one that came out that was like you're similar to what you're talking about, where you're like in a rocket ship seat or whatever, and then you just act like that, shaking you around, giving you the sound and everything.
But yeah, it was something similar to that, where you'd board and then the bases sort of slid out into a half dome type theater. So there was a lot of sound isolation concerns for that, as well as room acoustics, dealing with reverberation and sound within the space, and mechanical noise for the whole building, but especially in the theaters, and then just reverberation control in the hall, because it was fairly massive.
Nice. And then so you said you got into this stuff because you wanted to continue doing basically band music of some sort, right? And so what got you into that side of things? What got you into playing like the saxophone and drum corps?
I can't remember it's been part of my life for as long as I can remember. My parents were musicians in school as well, and so I grew up with that. I can remember being very little and listening to drum corps soundtracks in the car with my dad. So
it was almost like just part of your life from the beginning.
Yeah, it was just an assumption. There's two pianos in my parents' house, and I play saxophone and tuba. My sisters play bassoon and trumpet. My parents play saxophone, clarinet, piano. So
wow.
It was kind of just part of life.
Mm-hmm. And so then, like, you just loved it so much, wanted to keep doing it, and then, so you said you played saxophone, tuba, drum corps, anything else that you can play?
Well, in drum corps is where I learned tuba to march with 7th Regiment out of Connecticut. At one point, I could play piano, and I could still passably play a little bit, but primarily it's baritone saxophone and enough tuba to get by.
Okay, there you go. Cool. And then so another thing that you like to do is like build electric hot rods. So how does that fit in with music and
it's
sound?
completely unrelated. But
is that you're trying to do electric to decrease the sound pollution or whatever?
No, because it's just as noisy in the car as anything else. But no, cars are also something that was part of my life. My maternal grandfather was a classic hot rodder in the 50s in New York, and he has I believe it's the second car he owned stateside, which is a 1930 Ford Model A sports coupe.
Wow.
That he and I restored starting when I was a little kid, and he's got some other stuff that we've preserved and taken care of. So cars was always a part of my life, and I was always interested in newer technologies, and I kind of fell into doing the EV stuff in college, where I had some interest in it and ended up running my college's electric race team and got hooked on doing EV stuff and drag racing. And after college, bought a 1940 Chevy Coupe that has a Tesla large drive unit and 2 Chevy Volt batteries and parts from another dozen cars that I have continually built and repaired and rebuilt and repaired over and over again for the past. I've had that car. I bought that car in 2019 and got it on the road, I think, in late 2020, early 2021, and have proceeded to repair and break it for a couple years since.
It's like the endless cycle or whatever, right? Just
Yeah,
repair, break,
basically.
repair,
I was
break.
very glad this fall that it came home in one piece from the event that I was running.
And so then like the drag week, that's not just like when you say that, it goes in my head to like just a drag race, but you do almost like a road race or whatever to there, right?
Well, it's focused on the drag racing, but as part of proving that the cars racing are street cars, you have to drive a prescribed route from track to track each day. So you start and end at the same track, but each day, once you've made a pass, you get directions to the next track, and you have to follow a prescribed route to get there, and take photos at checkpoints along the way that get checked when you turn in your time slip the next day. So the road part isn't necessarily a race, but you do have a defined time. You have to be at the track the next day.
Like, you gotta be there at 8 o'clock for your takeoff or something like that.
You basically, the track is open for a set period each day, and so you need to make it there within that time in order to make a pass or to get credit for being there. So to some extent, there's a time element on the driving, but it's get there when you get there kind of thing.
Okay. And then, so why go electric? Is it just because of the newer technology that's available now?
Yeah, I wanted to play with newer technology. I'd done some of it in college and was interested in it. And there are guys that have been tuning V8s and even the most current generation of V8s for nearly my entire life. And so they're always going to have a bit of a head start on me in how to deal with that. And I would rather learn the new technology and be that grumpy old guy that knows what he's doing in 20 years. So learning all of that technology and trying to push that forward. And I really think there's still a place for hot rodding and EVs to just be a continuation. It's just another fuel source. It's another way of doing things, and so I'd rather bring that attitude and perspective to it. There's a lot of EV conversion guys that don't necessarily have that hot rodders idea and approach to it, and so that's something I'm interested in doing.
Yeah, that's cool. And I mean, before talking to you about it and whatever, I didn't even think that that was a realm or whatever. Like
there's only a few of us that are that crazy, but there's a good
the spearhead
community
or whatever of it, right? You're spearheading the not movement.
Yeah,
I guess movement.
yeah. I mean, a lot of the parts and control systems I use, other folks have developed, but there are a few that I've been able to contribute to and sort of how to use OEM components in the EV conversion space. There are a lot of options out there. If you want to, just bring your checkbook, you can buy a bunch of stuff brand new and build an EV conversion. But for a lot of us and wanting to do new and creative things with it, it means figuring out how to use these parts from production EVs and hybrids in new ways to accomplish different things.
Yeah.
And that challenge is fun.
That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, from everything we've talked about, it's definitely a challenge. I always hear about something's broken or holy crap, you just have to spend like all weekend working on the damn thing. But hey, I mean, it probably is a fun time trying to get it all together and then seeing that masterpiece finally.
There are fun moments.
Yeah.
That's for sure. There are some moments that I have to remind myself this is fun. But no, there are a lot of really fun and cool moments, and getting a car that you've built and repaired and modified every piece of it and going driving 1,000 miles in it and seeing new parts of the country is really fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so, talking about fitness and everything, what's your kind of fitness story? Kind of like, I know you talked about you kind of was in good shape with high school and with the drum corps and things like that.
Yeah, I'd been in decent shape in high school. I biked a lot and was pretty active. And then in college, I really kind of yo-yoed back and forth between getting really out of shape during the school year and gaining a lot of weight, and then in the summer during the drum corps season, working that all off, and then coming back to school and not keeping my activity levels up and not changing how I was eating for doing less activity. And so that bounced back and forth. And then after college, I really got in a rut of just focusing on work and not doing enough physical activity. And I started working on that, where I would either really restrict my diet or really, get active for a few weeks, a few months, and then, life would get in the way. And I would, slip a little bit, and then that would justify slipping a little more and slipping a little more, and it would compound to the point where back to not being active and eating too much. So, I decided that if I was, spending money to be a part of a gym, that maybe I'd stay a little more focused. And the class structure of doing CrossFit has really helped in me saying, okay, this is when I'm going to the gym, and it's on the calendar, and that's what I do. And having, going every work day is very helpful to me. If there's no saying, oh, I'll just go tomorrow instead. It's, well, you're going tomorrow either way, so you might as well go today.
Right.
And you can do whatever else it is you need to do later. And so, basically unless I have a work event or I'm out of town, I'm going to the gym at 5:30 every day.
Yeah. So you would say like consistency was the biggest problem for you before joining the gym?
Yeah, consistency and sort of an accountability aspect of, if there's no forcing function there.
Yeah, and then so now it's like you're a lot more consistent, like you said, because you have that specific time. Hey, 5 o'clock, you need to be shutting things down. 5:15, you need to be out the door, sort of thing. So I get the 5:30 class or whatever.
Yeah, and especially since a lot of people have the same consistent time every day, they'll ask when you're not there.
It's like, Paul, where the hell were you at?
Yeah, where were you? And that's helpful as well. That somebody notices.
Yeah, man. And then any other like specific positive impacts that you've seen besides just being more consistent and having those people kind of helping you be held accountable?
Yeah, I mean, I feel better and have certainly improved strength, and I'd had back issues since the end of college, from an injury near the end of doing drum corps, and then just not taking care of it and gaining weight. And so from coming in consistently and stretching and working with you and other coaches, figuring out that a lot of that comes from leg tension, and so better ways to stretch and deal with that. And so, it still flares up when I walk the dog in the morning, but I know what stretch to do to get it to go away so that it's not a problem hindering, daily life.
Mm-hmm. That's good. And then hopefully also like just strengthening up other things around the core to support the back, and then also strengthening up the right part of the legs to take some of the tension out of it, whatever, help out too. That's awesome, man. And then what would you say to someone that's on the fence about joining?
I think to what we were talking about before in terms of how much it helps with consistency and building fitness into your routine is certainly a huge benefit that I've seen about specifically joining CrossFit and Triangle CrossFit. The other aspect that I think helped me was the pre-built-in options for scaling and having a clear path, not just how to scale down, but then as you improve, how to scale up, that it's already there and you're not needing to do the work of figuring that out, that it's there in front of you to provide that option, and that sort of pathway is really clearly defined. And for me, that was helpful. Of like, I don't have the time or desire to go do the research on what to do myself, and so having that program that's already predefined is really helpful in not having that mental load of figuring out what I'm what I'm going to do. Yeah,
it's like you've already got so much stuff on your plate. The last thing you want to do is to think about, okay, what am I doing at the gym tonight?
Yeah,
and then when things get really crazy, and that then may push off the consistency like we've talked about. It's like, hey, show up and we can get it all figured out, unless there's like all the crazy math stuff that you gotta do, right?
Yeah. I still I can't get a good answer out of you on why we were doing so much math, but I just had a spreadsheet do it for me.
There you go. Yeah, that's, you bring the Google sheet into it all, right? And then anything else you want to add, Paul?
No, I think that's it.
Awesome, man. Well, again, thank you for coming out, highlighting your story for the people and everything like that. Congrats for being November's Member of the Month.
Thank you.